Good evening and welcome to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition live from our studio here at Adesanwe Kanda in Accra. Coming up this evening, more than 150 shops of foreigners have been closed in what appears to be the full enforcement of GIPC Act 865 by leadership of the Abosokai Spare Part Dealers Association. We will give you updates of what exactly transpired earlier today when GIPC and its leadership decided to enforce this particular part of their regulations. Also, diplomatic efforts have intensified over the DSTV pricing debate as South Africa's foreign minister is expected in Ghana to mediate with Ghanaian authorities. And later, consumers expected to pay more in the upcoming days as the Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, proposes a major upward review of its distribution service charge. Details of all these plus business and sports for the next 1 hour. Stay with us. This is Hot Edition 92.73 FM. My name is Martin Asiedu-Dartey. Let's settle for the details. And before that, let's bring in my colleague who has the news summaries for you, and would go straight to Crystal. Hello, Crystal.
Hi, Martin. Thank you very much. In our summaries tonight, President John Dramani Mahama will host a presidential media encounter on Wednesday, September 10, 2025. This is the first media encounter of his second term. Now, the event is scheduled to take place at the presidency at 8 p.m. That's according to a statement that was issued and signed by the Minister of Government Communications, Felix Kwachiofosu, on Monday. According to the statement, the encounter will provide a unique platform for President Mahama to engage the Ghanaian people through the media on pressing national issues, his resetting Ghana agenda and policies and ongoing projects. In other stories, Dennis Miracle-Zabwaja, who is a spokesperson of former Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia, has accused the NDC administration of lacking a clear strategy on how to deal with the challenges facing the country. In a Facebook post, he said that rather than fighting the challenges facing the country, the government focuses its attention on raiding the homes of opposition party members. Guta has warned that it would not sit back and allow foreigners to compete directly with local traders in market spaces across the country. The National First Vice Chairman of Guta, Mr. Clement Boateng, expressed disappointment at successive governments for failing to enforce laws regulating trade and international commerce. According to him, this failure has emboldened foreign traders to dominate retail spaces, particularly in Accra's Abosokai market, leaving many Ghanaians struggling to sustain their businesses. And just before we go, the United States has announced new requirements for non-immigrant visa applicants, particularly those seeking F, M, and J visas, which cover academic students, vocational students, and exchange visitors. The announcement further noted that a recent presidential proclamation restricting the entry of foreign nationals from certain countries, which took effect on June 9, 2025, remains in force. And you can check this on our website, 3news.com. Over to you, Martin.
Thank you, Christabel Success Trevor, for the news summary. Let's delve into the specifics of our stories now. And more than 150 shops of Nigerians have been closed in what appears to be the full enforcement of GIPC Act 865 by leadership of the Abosokai Spare Part Dealers Association. According to the association, the activities of these foreign traders is a breach of Ghana's investment laws, distort competition, and threaten the survival of local businesses. Although majority complied, it was an altercation from one shop to the other. One shop's of these individuals were closed earlier today. Let's listen to some of the issues that transpired when our reporters joined to find out what exactly had been happening at these market areas.
It won't be long, the matter will be then you open it up.
So clearly you could tell that it was a banter between the local authorities and the foreign shop owners. My colleague George Queening was at the market area and the spare parts shops to find out what exactly was happening, and he's joined us in studio for a quick chat on this. George, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Martin, for having me.
Did you have a tip-off, or this was a planned decision by the GIPC officials to go to these shops?
So actually, it's by the leadership of the Abosoka and spare part dealers.
The dealers themselves?
And they also had support from the national security. So there was actually a directive. So some of them complied. According to the association, 90% was the compliance level. So the 10% were the ones that were proving very stubborn. I think the audio you heard there was Chinedu Victor. And, according to the GIPC law, they're actually limiting petty trading to citizens. And Chinedu felt the shop is in the name of the wife, and the wife is Ghanaian. So clearly, if you want to go with the law, then my shop should not be closed. So when they closed it, they opened it. So that was what brought about the altercation. So all the shops that have been closed have been given deadline Monday. It was in Wednesday to come and then bring their documents and then, for instance, Chinedu, for instance, can prove, but those that are that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
But and then again. So, if I'm to understand what you're saying, you said that there had been an earlier notification to all these foreign owners.
Close your shops,
that close your shops.
Yeah.
Okay, so where were these? I don't know whether you have an answer to this, but where were these Spare Part Dealers Association leaders when these shops were even being opened in the first place? So, if you know that there's a foreigner coming to open a shop, then you might as well have stopped him before they opened it.
Exactly. I think at a point in time they actually relaxed the law, because there's been several years where these people have been, been so vocal about these concerns. Because for them, they say successive governments have failed to enforce this very law. So that is what is really undermining their, entrepreneurial spirit, even local businesses in Ghana. So for them, this is the right time to uphold the law. So that's how come maybe they are very aggressive about this approach now.
Okay. So, at the end of the day, how did they resolve some of these issues? And is it going to continue from tomorrow?
So, as it stands, all the shops have been closed. So, when they close your shop...
All as in how many?
All for, so, more than 150.
Okay.
So, 150. So, when you close a shop, there's this red marker that is just, what's the name, scribbled on your whatever to identify. So, for people like Chinedu, they, have, good cases because it's in your wife's name. But there's also been allegations that some Ghanaians are fronting so these are the shops that were open because when you come it's for a Ghanaian. So that's why they were able to do what? Open their shop. But those that closed really know that they are Nigerians. Yeah. Right,
George, and maybe finally before you go, these shops, what kind of it's in the general spare parts area, but do they also sell the same things that Ghanaians
they sell? Like the brake pad, those petty stuff. They don't sell like engines, no. Brake pad, brake fluid, those particular, that's what they sell.
Okay, right. So, George Queening is our man.
Okay, I just wanted to put this one across. So there's actually this debate that Nigerians do better in retail trade than Ghanaians. Because a Nigerian will sell a pen for 1 cedi, Ghanaian will be selling that same pen for 10 cedi. But they're saying that their things are very cheaper because they go through Togo and all that. So at the end of the day, all these charges will not be more than 20%. But the Ghanaian is paying more than 40%. So obviously, we'll factor that cost in his product. So that's why you would say, the Nigerian sells, things lesser, but they actually have to deal with a lot of things which are being factored into the pricing eventually.
Certainly.
Yeah, sure.
Right, George, thank you so much for this story that seems to be quite topical, and many of you have already started sharing your thoughts on our Facebook and YouTube page, where we are also streaming live. So keep your messages coming in, and we'll be happy to share with the rest of the world. Let's go to the phone lines now and speak to the director of the West Africa Regional Center, CATS International, Apia Kusi Adomako. Mr. Adomako, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Yeah, good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
What would your initial thoughts be on the fact that this is not the first, second, or third time? Every now and then we have some Ghanaians or Ghanaian shop owners who come out to say that shops that they work with in an enclave, a business enclave, are owned by foreigners, and for that matter, they need to be closed down. This is not the first time. What do you make of this?
Okay, so we have the GIPC law that gives the minimum investment requirement for businesses that want to operate in the country. And if there's any violation of such law, the powers to go and close down a shop is not within the purview of GUTA or any other. It's GIPC, going the Ghana police are the ones who have been clothed with powers under the GIPC law. So what GUTA is doing, it is unlawful. And it is also a threat to national security, in a sense that they are trying to take the law into their own hands and try to, if you have any issues, write to GIPC and then Ghana Police Service, and the police will do that.
Right. So you clearly have said that what they are doing is unlawful and that there are institutions or specific bodies that must ensure that the laws are, followed stricto sensu. But the concern some would also raise is it that they were unaware when these shops were being opened in the first place? How do you react to that?
GIPs may not be aware at the time that these shops were being opened. But of course, the law states that if you are a foreigner and you want to come to Ghana to operate, you have to go to GIPC. And so if a foreigner opens a shop without complying with that, GIPC can take an action. But the powers of trying to close the shop by the law has not given GUTA or any other trade association the power to do that. And mind you, we have Ghanaian businesses also in Nigeria. And if today GUTA is closing people's shop here in Accra, in Abuja or Lagos or Kaduna, Nigerians could also be doing the same thing. I think that let's allow the law to work. And as your gentleman said earlier on, Ghanaian businessmen are more afraid of Nigeria because Nigerians are able to sell at competitive prices. Ghanaians want a high margin. Alain, he was saying that Nigerians are bringing their goods from unauthorized corridor. That is not true. Their goods come through the Tema Harbor. If you ask them, they can provide the custom duty and everything. It is the inherent Ghanaian pricing culture whereby we like to price so much high at the expense of, consumer welfare. And that is why most of these people cannot compete.
My next question actually would be on the reprisal, the probable or the potential reprisal, shop closures of Ghanaians in Nigeria and probably other countries. How concerning is this? And is it that there isn't enough public education for the locals to know what retail business actually does mean? And for which reason maybe they see anybody, so far as you're a foreigner and you are selling probably the same thing they are selling, they can then categorize it as retail business. How do you think that we've not done enough local education?
I think what we need to do is that we need to just allow the law to work. If a foreigner comes to Ghana and wants to register a company, and the person goes to even GIPC, it goes to Registrar General. Registrar General has to refer the person to go to GIPC to fulfill all the righteousness. But most of the time, you realize that GIPC and Registrar General may not be talking to each other. And so people are able to register companies, and then they enter into the market, and GIPC finds them posthumously. And that is where most of these things are happening. And again, as your colleague rightly said, most of these shops are owned by non-Ghanaians, and Ghanaians are fronting for them.
Right. Well, so we would see what the GIPC themselves will be doing in the coming days. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Mr. Adomako, Kusi Adomako. He is the director of the West African Regional Center for Cats International Apia Kusi Adomako there. And if you are a shop owner in and around the Abosoka enclave, what do you make of this development? Did you see it yourself, and how do you think we can best resolve this issue? Considering the fact that we state every now and then that Nigerians are our brothers on the continent, clearly so, because the percentage of Nigerians in Ghana vis-a-vis Ghanaians in Nigeria is uncountable. So we really need to start paying attention to how we treat them, even if it has to do with issues of business. Let's speak to someone who's an international relations analyst and has been following this issue about our relations with other countries on the continent. Professor Daniel Draman Kiposunyehi is a senior research fellow at the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy. Let's hear. Prof, good evening and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Oh, good evening. Thank you very much for the invitation. And I also thank your cherished listeners. And I'm sure that we'll have a very interactive session.
Certainly so. I know that this is not the first, second, or third time. Almost every year, there is this concern about Nigerians are taking over our business. We don't even want to strain into other countries that, like South Africa, where they actually decided to even sack foreign nationals out. But let's look at the international relations aspect of this conversation. How concerning, how disturbing is it that Nigerians are doing business in a particular enclave, and then overnight the people decide to say that you are doing this business illegally, so we are closing you down, and not even using the law as it should, but it seems very forceful, in this closure?
Yeah, this is a very difficult situation that we found ourselves. Ideally, Ghana is a member of ECOWAS, and our sub-regional policy is that there's free movement of goods and persons. So Nigerians are free to come to Ghana, at least within the 90-day visa-free, they can interact. And at the same time, they can do business. Ghanaians can also go to Nigeria and do business. That is what we have submitted to. At the same time, we also have our Ghana Investment Promotion Council Act. That is very clear that retail sector should be the preserve of the local, the Ghanaians, and not foreigners. This is our national law, municipal law, that we expect it is contrary to the international one. And that is the point of confusion that we have in Ghana here. Is government going to enforce our domestic law that is saying that foreigners should not engage in retail business? Are we going to enforce it? That is the challenge that government is having. If government is enforcing this national law, it means that government is also running out of the regional one, which allow free trade. So I think that is why government is faced with immobility. We are not seeing government moving in any direction, whether to stop it, to enforce the municipal law, or to enforce the international law. That is the situation that Ghana we have found ourselves. The past government struggled with this. They couldn't take any action. And current government, to the same thing, has come up. So I think that there's something wrong somewhere. And what I think is wrong is our national laws, because the enforcement is the problem that we have. I think that we could still have Ghanaians who trade, but we make sure that they are not in the retail business outlet. And almost all countries, that's what happened there. There are laws that are regulating businesses. So our enforcement, we could enforce our domestic law without it contradicting the international one. But enforcement is the problem. And I think that if government can enforce this Ghana Investment Promotion
Law,
Center law, they can enforce this Act 865 strictly without even running into any problem with our ECOWAS protocol.
So would you agree? Would you agree that the problem, the root of this problem, is right from the officers of the GIPC, or those that must ensure that right from the beginning, if it is a foreigner registering a business and it is in the retail sector, they should not allow it in the first place?
Exactly so. That is all about it. because the Registrar General Department possibly is not getting things right, because they are supposed to work hand in hand with Ghana Investment Promotion Council. They are supposed to work together and all other regulatory authorities to make sure that anyone coming into the retail business is not even registered in the first place. If they're going to do mobile phone, if they're going into spare parts, we don't even allow them to operate at all. We don't even allow them to operate at all. That is the first thing that we have to enforce.
Okay.
So that is where the problem is. So
Okay.
if we allow them to register and then they start providing services and we are running around, that becomes a problem. So I think that the enforcement of our domestic laws, that is the chunk of the problem. If
Right.
you go into Europe or any other developed country, such a thing will not happen, because the state institution will not allow you to even register, let alone engage in trade.
Right, and maybe I would kindly ask you to hold on, because we want to bring in another issue which also has international or multinational dimension. But the bit about the GIPC law and its enforcement and what's been happening with the Abosoka spare part traders, do you also have the fear that there could be reprisal, closure of shops owned by Ghanaians? That is, if they are doing the business illegally in Nigeria or in other countries for that matter.
Yeah, that is something that can easily happen. Because if Nigerians are suppressed in Ghana, if Nigerians are prevented from trading in Ghana, the same Nigerians every day, they move Ghana left, right. So they can also tell their authorities. Ghanaians are also engaged in retail business in Nigeria in one way or the other. That they could also attack Ghanaians there. And that is why I think that the best we could do is just to make sure that we don't even give them the license to operate. And of course, it's not only licenses. We all believe that there are still some of these foreigners that are in Ghana here. They have not registered a company they're trading. That is still part of the enforcement challenge that we have. So if this state institution can work, this thing should not even be a problem. In the first place, you will not. Because we'll even have the police who may team up with National Investment Promotion Authority staff, and then they will get all these people picked up. Of course, if you arrest them, it is not against international law. Even in U.S., we just saying what happened to South Korean company there, where some people have come in, they were tourist visa and they are working. They were rounded up, 400 and something arrests. So Ghana arresting these people for engaging in illegal trade, I don't think that will create any problem in Nigeria. But when the state is not taking action and the citizens take action, then that is what will lead to reprisal attack in Nigeria.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your thoughts. But on the issue of what we've also been hearing regarding Ghana and DSTV, or the Ministry of Communication and DSTV, how does this come to you? We are hearing, or the latest twist to that whole tale is that the South African foreign minister is expected to come to Ghana to try and mediate, or at least sit and talk with the Ghanaian communications minister, because MultiChoice, which is the mother company of DSTV, is South African originally. Do you think this issue could have been handled domestically now that we are seeing some international dimension to it?
Yes, I think that is a very interesting thing. Most of us, we subscribe to these things, and of course, if MultiChoice is all for DSTV, I'm sure that a great number of Ghanaians will suffer, because most of us have subscribed to such digital platforms. So I think that the best is our minister, and I'm happy that South African is taking it seriously and even possibly having their minister to come to mediate. And I think that should be the way forward. We should be able to handle it at ministerial level so that the differences will be ironed out. Of course, I believe that that issue also comes to regulatory problem. But if Ghana, if the regulatory, maybe National Media Communication or whichever agency is responsible for regulating, which is within the Ministry of Communication, if they were enforcing the regulator, I don't think we would have reached this level. Before this, any increment, you seek approval. And that should be all. Like fuel, the regulatory is there. So I think that enforcement is one of the challenges that we have. We are not enforcing them. When you rise up suddenly to enforce it, then you are faced with resistance. So I think that is the problem that we are having. I believe that government agencies need to take their regulatory enforcement very, very seriously because of years of neglect or years of inability to enforce some of these provisions. That is where we are now. But I commend the sector minister, communication minister, of taking this up, and I think it's commendable. We should, all other sectors of the government or all government agencies must be up in doing, enforce the laws. Once we enforce the laws, I think these issues, we will deal with them in the bud, and they will not even become crisis for us to solve.
Absolutely.
So enforcement still remains the biggest, the best, and the way forward for the country, Ghana.
Prof, thank you so much for speaking to us this evening.
Thank you.
Professor Kipo Sunyehi is an international relations analyst and also a research fellow at the Legon Center for International Affairs and Diplomacy, LESIAD. What do you make of the fact that simple issues, well, not necessarily simple, but domestic issues are unfortunately taking, international dimensions, and how this could affect Ghanaian nationals or business owners in these other countries as well? That a company in Ghana being asked to, at least abide by local laws seem to have had a tangle with the Ghanaian ministries, for which reason the international, the foreign affairs minister of South Africa is expected in the country to try and sit with the Ghanaian minister. This actually came to light about 2 or so weeks ago when the foreign affairs minister gave indications that his counterpart in South Africa had spoken to him and had been linked up with Sam Nate George, who is the Minister for Communication, to try and resolve this issue, which he thought was just a domestic issue. What do you make of it? Do let us know, because we are streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Just look for 3FM 92.7, and you can let your thoughts and messages be heard loud and clear. We'll read it to the rest of the world. Let's bring you the specific story about Ghana and DSTV.
Yes, Martin, like you rightly said, diplomatic efforts have intensified over the DSTV pricing debate, as South Africa's foreign minister is expected in Ghana to mediate with authorities. A stakeholder committee chaired by the communications minister has started its work to evaluate and agree to fair pricing for consumers in some 14 days. Christian Yale reports.
Between government and MultiChoice Ghana concerning the proposal for reduction in DSTV subscription rates in the country. The company over the period has maintained that it is not feasible for it to reduce pricing in Ghana, citing operational challenges and external costs and even the prevailing economic conditions in the country. For its failure to submit critical pricing data to government, MultiChoice Ghana was slapped with a 10,000 cedis daily fine, which started from August 15, an amount which has accumulated to some 250,000 cedis as of Monday, 8 September 2025. The stakeholder committee meeting chaired by the communications minister, Sam George, is expected to do an evaluation and consider the argument for a possible reduction in DSTV pricing in the country.
The committee has a strict 14-day mandate, inclusive of weekends, to conclude its work and present a suitable price reduction structure for the people of Ghana by the 21st of September 2025.
But there are some who have raised concerns over the absence of consumers on this stakeholder committee, making a claim that at least those who use DSTV should have also been represented in this committee to also air their views concerning the matter.
The NCA still has the mandate to ensure that they collect what is due from the fines that we imposed on MultiChoice for the almost 24 days before they provided the information that they did not provide the information.
Diplomatic efforts have intensified over this matter. South Africa has waded into the conversation with its foreign affairs minister expected in Ghana this week to mediate with authorities over the issue. But in all of this back and forth and dynamics, consumers just expect a fair pricing model that meets their realities.
And that report was put together by Christian Yali. So we are waiting to see how all of this plays out in the coming days. Do let your thoughts and messages come in on our Facebook and YouTube page. We will be happy to share with the rest of the world. Let's shift our attention to some other stories we have for you tonight.
Yes. The Electricity Company of Ghana, ECG, is asking the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PURC, to approve a major upward review of its distribution service charge. In its latest proposal, the ECG is calling for an increase of about 225%, moving the charge from 19 pesos per kilowatt hour to nearly 62 pesos. The company argues the adjustment is needed to restore its financial health, cover rising operational costs, and recover investment in Ghana's power distribution network. The PURC is, however, yet to make a decision on the matter. And we'll be going over to the phone lines. Martin?
Absolutely. And we've been joined by Dr. Shafiq Suleiman. He's joined us for a quick chat on this. He is the Executive Secretary of the PURC. Doc, good evening and thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Me on 3FM, and good evening to all your cherished listeners.
We're told that you have received a proposal from the Electricity Company of Ghana, one of your main companies that you work with very closely. 225% increase is what they are proposing. They seem to have justified it in their proposal that they needed to be able to stay afloat or at least be efficient. You can confirm this to us, and if so, how is this feasible?
Okay, thank you very much. PURC, as you are aware, we are mandated to conduct tariff reviews, and there's a period where we call the multi-year tariff order, where we conduct a 3 to 5 year multi-year tariff review of the utilities. And then we use that as the baseline to actually conduct the quarterly tariff review. And 2025 is actually the beginning of the year of conducting a multi-year tariff order. And then we started the process last three months. And then we conducted what we call investment hearing, where all the utilities submitted their various investment proposals for us to analyze and understand the kind of investment they'll be doing to actually facilitate or improve what we call quality of service, and as well satisfy the Ghanaian consumer. In the process of the multi-year tariff order, we also had in it the submission of what we call tariff proposals. So the utilities as well over the weeks submitted their tariff proposals. And as the name suggests, tariff proposals. They are proposals that the utilities submit to the Commission, and the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission creates an avenue for the consumer or the Ghanaian consumer to question the utilities, to actually let the utilities confirm and defend their proposals, especially tariff proposals. And that's what we started today. So we call it stakeholder engagement. Today, PURC actually started the multi-year tariff order, tariff proposal stakeholder engagement. And in the engagement, ECG submitted to the general public. So we met the CSOs today. They submitted to the general public that they are requesting for, or they are proposing that the Commission and Ghanaian community or the Ghanaian consumer considers increasing or adjusting their tariff by 225%. Let me state that it's not only ECG. Ghana Water is also requesting for almost the same amount, 200% tariff proposal adjustment. Ghana Gas is requesting for 97% tariff adjustment. Ghana Great Company Limited is also requesting for around 100% tariff adjustment. Enclave Power is also requesting for a tariff adjustment. VRA, Volta River Authority, is also requesting for a upward tariff adjustment. And it is obvious. I mean, if at all times the utilities are looking for improving their quality of service, it will require investment. And the only way to gain the investment is to increase their prices or their tariffs. And they are just making the proposal anyway. So myself in the Commission and the Commission itself and all the commissioners and then all the major stakeholders within the commission, in consultation with the stakeholders, that's the consumer, and then all major stakeholders will review all these proposals, and whether or not we would give them the required or requested 25% will be based on whatever discussions we have and analyzing whether or not they really require the tariff proposal they are requesting for, and if we even give them, what are they using it for? Will they be able to use it to actually improve what we call quality of service for the consumer, whilst mindful what we call the socio-political economic factors? We are putting all these parameters in place to ensure that the utilities are responsive and are accountable for whatever they are proposing. And we are also analyzing it to consider whether or not to give them that adjustment. So it's a proposal. Okay. And that's what we are looking at now till the end of September, even getting into the middle of October, before we can collate all these views and come out with our analysis to see whether or not there could be an upward or a downward adjustment in the multi-year tariff order, and we'll use that as a basis to do the quarterly tariff adjustment.
I mean, clearly, it's good that you've put this in proper perspective for, majority of our listeners who may not know that this is just a proposal. The 225% increase is just a proposal, after which there will be deliberations, and then there will be a final outcome which would inform what quarterly tariff increment we are likely to pay. But it looks as though all the utilities are asking for an increment, and some of them seem quite on the high side. And over the years, we've been paying these tariffs, but many would still argue that we do not get commensurate output in terms of efficiency. What does the PURC make of the fact that consistently there are increments, but then comparatively we do not seem to be enjoying how much we are paying for?
Thank you. And as you can see, if you go through the PURC Act, that's Act 538, which states the mandate of the Commission, it indicates that in Section 17, that we are supposed to take care of the interests of the consumer, the interest of the investor, to ensure that the investments are viable and they can actually provide a return to the various investors. So taking care of the interests of the consumer requires the Commission to constantly monitor the performance of the utilities. And you can see, previously, let's say there may be some up and down activities with the performance of the monitoring of the utilities. But from the beginning of the year, when the rate setting agenda took place, you can see consistently that PURC working with the various utility service providers, and then the Ministry of Energy have been consistently working on providing quality of service, and that's keeping the lights on. And I can assure you, workings within the utilities, that's with electricity, which is much more common, you have realized that there's drastic improvement. Drastic. If I say a 360 turnaround in the provision of quality of service from electricity generation and making it available to the consumer, and ensuring that from VI, the power generation companies, through GridCo, the power distribution and transmission companies, through to ECG, they've been drastic improvements in their performance over the last couple of months. And that's, we say, thanks to the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, and then the Minister of Energy, and then PURC working together with the utilities to actually reset the energy sector. Then let's come to water. Water quality services are gradually also picking up. The revenue down to the water sector now, you'll be shocked that they've been almost a 50% increase in their total revenue collections. And they are also working together with all the sector agencies to ensure water that is delivered to the consumer, it is consistent, and it is also done in a very progressive manner. We are just gradually seeing the change and revolution, but gradually I can assure you that in the next year or two, you'll be seeing much more improvement in the delivery of quality of service in both water and electricity. And for that matter, we are also looking at gas and other utilities that we are all enjoying for the time being. So both in terms of quality of service and in terms of the investment that are required to sustain the sector, we are getting a reset completely in these utilities. And then I think if you can also attest, wherever you stay and wherever all your workers around your area stay, you can attest that there's been an improvement in power stability, and also there's been an improvement in the flow of water. The water sector really needs much more concentration because of the issues of mining and galamsey on water production at the various production sites. But you know that it's a collective assignment that all Ghanaians must put together to ensure that we improve holistically the supply of water, especially from the production sites that are affected by mining for that matter, galamsey.
Right.
But I can assure you, for now, PRC is working adequately with all the various utilities, and we are making tremendous progress, focusing on the resetting agenda of the president, and then trying to also turn around the fortunes of Ghana's development and economic trajectory. So
right, and it is fair to say that we actually have had, at least from some reports we've had, power generally has been stable across the country. So commendations to ECG and the adjoining stakeholders in the power sector. In conclusion, yes, it is a proposal. You are still receiving more. When are we likely to hear from the PRC as regards new tariffs?
Okay, thank you. You've forgotten to comment PRC, because we look at commendations to also PRC and all the commissioners that are here working day to day, and all the management of PRC working day and night to ensure that the Ghanaian consumer is protected, then the Ghanaian utility investor is as well protected.
Certainly.
But I can assure you, we are on a systematic roadmap to complete the stakeholder consultation by the end of September, getting into October. So we are looking at the MITO, that's the multi-year tariff order, coming online, being announced maybe in November, to take effect in December. So all these proposals that we are taking and all this investment we are looking at, we are looking at an announcement to take effect in 1st January, most likely, while keeping in mind that there will be a quarterly tariff adjustment before the MITO.
Okay. Right. Doc, thank you so much for making time to speak with us this evening. Dr. Shafiq Suleimana is the Executive Secretary of the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission, PRC. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
And he's just been sharing, a number of the proposals that have been submitted by the utility companies. Utility cuts across, so is water, electricity, they are the most popular ones. But when you break down electricity, for instance, or power, we know that there's VRA, there's Gradeco, there is also a number of other key players in the value chain who all ensure that we have stable power in our various homes. Then there's also Ghana Water Company, and they have been lamenting very seriously in the last few years about how the impact of galamsey is frustrating their efforts at providing clean water for us in our various homes. So they need these monies or these increments to help them, improve the services that they provide. But you are the final consumer. What do you make? How is it a chicken and egg situation where we need to give them how much they need so we can demand the exact amount of, the exact quality of service we require, or we need to get them to give us the proper quality, then we can pay for it? What do you make of that argument of whether or not this is a chicken and egg situation? Our Facebook page and our YouTube channel is also there for you to express yourself, because you are part of the show. This is Hot Edition on 92.73 FM. Let's shift our attention to education now, and there seem to be some disturbing reports coming in. There are multiple reports that we have regarding education, and in a jiffy we'll speak to Christopher Amwako, who is our Savannah Northern Regional Correspondent. But before we go to some specifics, we have just got news from him indicating that over 20,000 school children in Sola and Bole districts are currently out of school as a result of the conflict that erupted a few weeks ago. That is the specific story that he has sent to us, and I would want to engage him briefly. Then we can turn our attention to the other issues about, children not being able to go to school as a result of the conflict. Chris, good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening. So, what exactly is the current situation regarding the conflict?
Yes, so Martin, I can say that the conflict has brought some hardship on the people, and every aspect of their livelihoods have been affected. You talk about education, health, water, sanitation, hygiene, agriculture, and other aspects of human endeavors. But today, according to the Ghana Education Service, that is the Savannah Regional Director of Education, Bright Lawe, that over 20,000 children in school have been displaced, and that has affected education in the area. This makes up for the Sola and Bole district. Now, in the Sola district, some 85 schools have been closed down because the children are nowhere to be found. Some teachers are also nowhere to be found. Now, if you go to the Bole area, 44 of such schools have also been closed down. And so that is the situation in the Bole and Sola districts when it comes to education. Now, we all do know that over close to some 10,000 of these children are in neighboring Burkina Faso, neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire as we speak. And so with the intervention of UNICEF, they are planning to begin an education emergency in both the Sola and Vonkoro camps where these children are.
Right. Chris, and then again, the educational directors in the area, I'm sure they are all affected, not just the children, but are they the directors or some of the education officials in the area? Have you been able to engage them, and what do they think is the best way forward so these children are not left behind?
Okay, so with the intervention of UNICEF, they are going to start an education emergency classes for these children. We know that most of the teachers have fled, just as the students, the pupils have also fled. Now, the education director today has been able to meet some of the teachers who are still available, and he's going to reassign them. Some will be going to La Côte d'Ivoire, others will be in at the Solar camp, trying to ensure that they take these children through their daily educational needs. Some teaching and learning materials have been provided, and from tomorrow or Wednesday, they will erect the temporary classrooms. Now, the challenge is that they have to carry furniture from the schools that have been closed down to the camps, so that they will be able to go through their normal classes. For now, they are not even going to segregate them according to classes. What matters is that they should get some engagement every day so that they are not left behind.
Chris, thank you so much for that report. Christopher Mwako is our man on the ground monitoring the unfortunate developments within the Binyeri area, which has led to the displacement of over 48,000 of our citizens, some of them fleeing to neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire. And then also, this has affected education, where over 10,000, in fact, says about 20,000 children have been badly affected and would not be able to attend regular school. So for that matter, that some intervention is being introduced to ensure that these children are not left behind. We'll keep a very close eye on this particular issue and keep you posted subsequently.
Meanwhile, the Minister for Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, acting upon directive of the National Security Council, has established a ministerial mediation committee to find lasting solution to the Binyeri conflict. The committee is to facilitate the safe and dignified return of displaced residents, evacuate losses and damages, propose mechanisms for continuous monitoring and sustainability of peace.
The disturbances quickly spread to surrounding villages and communities, living in their wake the loss of precious lives, the destruction of property, and the displacement of men, women, and children who were forced to flee their homes. In response and acting upon the Director of the National Security Council, the Ministry of Interior has constituted this Ministerial Mediation Committee. The committee reflects government's commitment to peace, security, and social cohesion, as well as our resolve to ensure the safe return, rehabilitation, and reintegration of all affected residents. Your work as a committee are outlined in your terms of reference. It's critical. You are to 1. Facilitate the safe and the dignified return of displaced residents. 2. Assess the scope and dynamics of the conflict, as well as evaluate the losses and damages suffered. Promote reconciliation, dialogue, and social cohesion among all affected communities.
You just heard that the Minister for Interior, Muntaka Mubarak, speaking there. It's still Hot Edition here, live on 3FM 92.7. We've got the latest in sports and business. Bismarck Awusa is standing by.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Coming up tonight, International Monetary Fund IMF mission to visit Ghana in September for 5th program review. We'll bring you details. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. An International Monetary Fund IMF staff mission is expected in Accra at the end of September 2025 to conduct the 5th review of Ghana's $3 billion extended credit facility arrangement. The mission follows Ghana's completion of the 4th review earlier this year and will serve as the penultimate assessment before the program concludes in May 2026. The final review is scheduled for April 2026. If Ghana passes this review, the country is expected to receive about $360 million in October 2025. So far, Ghana has received $2.3 billion since signing the IMF program in May 2023. Market analysts describe the 5th review as crucial, cautioning that Ghana may struggle to maintain fiscal discipline after exiting the program. Moving on, the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, has declared its support for the ongoing industrial action by the Abossey Spare Parts Dealers Association to enforce Ghana's trade laws restricting foreigners from retail trading. The Spare Parts Dealers earlier announced that the action, anchored on the Ghana Investment Promotion Center Act 2013 Act 865, seeks to ensure compliance with provisions that bar non-citizens from petty trading, hawking and operating stalls in local markets. Speaking to 3 Business, GUTA President Joseph Opin says about 60% of the trading space has been taken over by foreigners.
Over 50% of the market share is now has been taken away from us. Now the foreigners are controlling over 40% of the market share, leaving us with just a small. Yeah, I've told you several times that the import that we do into the country, the local share is barely about 20%. The remaining 80% or so is being imported by these foreigners who bring in thousands upon thousands upon thousands of containers into this country without even bringing the correspondent forest to shore up our depleting forests. But it's not good even for the country. They bring these imported goods without any correspondent fund.
And that was President of the Ghana Union of Traders Associations, GUTA, Joseph Obin. Meanwhile, Director of Communications at the Aboso Kind Peppers Dealers Association, Techi Ado, says although the exercise was fraught with some hitches at the initial stages, it has generally been successful.
Some believe that they have married to a Ghanaian, but the law covers them, so automatically he's a citizen. But you can't use verbally to say I'm a citizen. You prove with a documentation. The work we are doing on behalf of the Ministry of Trade and Industry and the Ghana Investor Promotion Center, because as a market, as an association, we need to get data of our people, the citizens, the foreigners. We need to get their data. Do you understand? That's what we are doing. So I must say, so far so good. They've complied, and we are happy. As you know, if we witness it, by as a institution, definitely you might see this one or two. You understand? So far so good. It's good.
And that was Director of Communications at the Oboso Kind Spare Parts Dealers Association, Techi Ado, bringing us to the end of the business news on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bestmark. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website, 3news.com. Ori Kwampofo is here for sports. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. My name is Ori Kwampofo. We're just about an hour from kickoff in the big game between the Black Stars and Mali, and the FIFA World Cup qualifiers will take place in Accra. Currently stationed at the Accra Sports Stadium is my colleague Bill, who is getting ready for the game. Bill, what's your observation like? And with about 1 hour to go, do you have any hint of the potential lineup for the Black Stars against Mali?
Yes, so far I've seen a number of fans sitting in. A lot of them have been gathering around the Black Stars Square where they've been selling tickets. And so scores and scores of fans have been trying to get through. There are still some empty seats at the Accra Sports Stadium, but the expectation is that it would almost be full by the time that the match starts. With regards to the lineup, we understand that 4 changes have been made by Otuado with Abdul Salih Samet, Jerome Mokoku, there's also Iñaki Williams, and of course the enforced one, which is Elisha Owusu, who has been suspended for this game, all out of this game. But the players that we understand are coming in, of course, are Thomas Partey, who's the vice captain of the team, Tariq Lamptey, who will be slotting in at the right wing-back position, but Khaled Urenti was not benched. We hear that he has been moved alongside this role with Thomas Partey. The usual defensive pair of Mohamed Salisu and Alexander Djiku have all come in as per the sources that we got.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. I'm sure we'll be coming back to you later for more updates on TV3, 3FM, and then on our social media handles at 3 Sports. GH, just by way of update, we're bringing you live commentary on 3FM 92.7 for the Ghana versus Mali game, which would be taking place at the Accra Sports Stadium. It's at 7 p.m. and so you do want to get commentary for that game from the 3 Sports team right here on 3FM 92.7, and so do join us with about 15 minutes to go to the game as we build up and bring you live commentary at 7 o'clock. My name is Ori Kwampofo, and that's how we wrap up the sports segment and Hot Edition here on 3FM 92.7. We'll be back again tomorrow with the latest updates.